What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. I hope that you all are doing well. In today's video, we are going to be doing yet another book review since I'm so behind. I want to catch up. If you've never seen my face before, hi, my name is Mangi. Please make sure to hit the subscribe button to join the family. Hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload. And without any further ado, we are going to hop right into today's video. Today, we are reviewing this book. I don't know what's going on with the lighting today, but we're reviewing this book, Everything Must Go by Elizabeth Flock. First of all, I do not know what to expect, and I also did not read what's in the back when I first started this book. So this book had a pretty cover. It's one of those books. I don't know if I got this book. I know I got it secondhand. I just don't know if I picked it out and bought it in one of our thrift stores, or if I got it in a package, because there was a time I got a big box of books and I don't remember all the books that were in there. I don't note down where I get my books, so I don't know where I got this book, and I'm highly suspicious that I might have found it in our local thrift shop and picked it for its color. I'm highly suspicious. Okay, you can't see it properly right now because it's blown out, but I will put a little picture on top so you guys can see it right now. That's the book. It's very pretty. It took me a while also to realize that the pretty floral pattern is a woman's dress or blouse or whatever. So crazy. But anyway, I had mixed feelings about this book. Not because I did not like this. Hold on, I just want to pull out my notes. Not because I felt that the book was bad or anything like that, but because the book was truly... Hold on, I need to fix something. I'm getting distracted by this humidifier. The lights keep changing. I like it when the lights change, but I think right now it's a little distracting. If I could find my remote. All right, so I got that sorted. But anyway, it took me a while to realize that this floral pattern was a woman's dress, because here's her arm and she's holding the child. I did not know whether this child was a girl or a boy, but I thought, oh, Justin Bieber haircut, must be a boy. And I was right. Let's talk about it. So this book is about a young man named Henry Powell. And Henry is a young man who is... I don't want to say that he is troubled so much as it is that he's dealing with something devastating. Life took a devastating turn for his family, and he is just caught in the middle, and it has not been a pleasant time for him. And I feel bad for him. I don't know why all the books that I'm reading are books where I feel bad for the character, but this character really made it... it made it a problem. It was a problem for me because I was like, oh my god, this is so depressing. And with this devastation that his family is going through, he unfortunately feels guilty about something. Granted that the devastating event happened when he was a child, right? But for some reason he is blamed for it, and I don't know, it made me very mad. It made me very angry that his parents were blaming him for their negligence, right? Because as a parent, you're responsible for your household, and you cannot blame anything that happens in the household on a child, especially when that child is below the age of like 13, 14, where right around the time they start to know right from wrong. You just cannot blame a child for anything of that sort. It is on you. Everything that happens in that household is on you. Even if that child's actions cause a problem, it's on you. You are the parent. You cannot tell me as a parent that you are not responsible for your own child's actions. You're not responsible for any of the dilemmas or situations that you might face. You are responsible for your household as a parent, not your child. Okay? And this book really got me thinking very hard about situations like this, and places where children are blamed for things that are beyond their control. And one of the things that I keep thinking about reading this book was the story about the Chinese Cinderella. I think it's an autobiography. And this lady is basically blamed her whole life. She lives a very sad life, abused by her family, her stepmom, everyone except the grandma. I think the grandma was very kind, but the rest of the family was very mean to her. And it was something that happened when she was a literal baby. And I'm just like, she's not responsible for any of that. Anyway, I recommend that you guys read Chinese Cinderella. I have not read Chinese Cinderella since high school, but I still remember the book. It's stuck with me quite a bit. But yeah, Chinese Cinderella kind of reminded me of that book, with how much this child is carrying this burden of a situation that occurred when they were young. It drove me absolutely insane. Okay, so the lighting has changed. I think you can see my eyes better because now the light is not reflecting straight into my eyes. I prefer this because I wanted to feel like you guys can see me, because if I can't see myself, then you can't see me. All right, now you can see my eyes even through the glasses because the glare is bad. I'm sorry. I think some days I want to get contacts just so that I don't have to wear glasses and you guys see the glare. However, I don't know if it is worth it for me at this point. I think right now I would like to keep going with my glasses. I prefer having glasses. I've heard too many horror stories about contact lenses, and it's insane because there's so many more people I know who use contact lenses and are fine with them than I know people who've had horror stories. And I'm like, you know what, with my luck, I might just be one of the horror stories. Might be a statistic. But I'm gonna keep going. So that was what happened back then. Even though I'm trying not to ruin it for everyone, but I'm so desperate to just tell you this is what happened and this is what was said. But I'm not going to ruin it for anyone who wants to go and actually read the book themselves, because I think it's a pretty enjoyable book. If you are looking for something to read, it is a little bit heavy. It's not like lighthearted or anything. It is a little heavy, a little heartbreaking, if I'm being totally honest. All 404 pages of heartbreak in this little thing over here. I promise you. I forgot to mention this earlier, but this book I started on, I want to say I started it on the 8th or the 9th. I have both dates here. I don't know why. I started it on the 8th, on the 9th of June, and I finished it on the 1st of August. How many weeks was that? It took me 8 weeks, which was much, much longer than the other books, because all the other books are like 6 weeks, 7 weeks. This took me 8 weeks, which I kind of understand, because I think during the time that I was reading this book, I stopped reading it for a while and went to reading Pride and Prejudice, which I've already read Pride and Prejudice in the past. I just wanted to read it again. I ended up not finishing it because I got bored with this book. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of got bored with this book. Mainly because I felt like I was reading another sad story after reading 3 different sad stories. Even the first book that I read, by Danielle Steele, Special Delivery, it had a little bit of a sadness thing going, where the woman was in a low-key abusive marriage and was mourning this marriage, but also learning who she was again, and learning who she was in the sense that she had lost her identity in this marriage. And it was a lot. It was kind of much. It was too much. So I did take some time and read Pride and Prejudice, which I don't think that was a good switch, but oh well, it worked. I got back into the reading this book. I think it took me 2 weeks. I think I took a 2-week hiatus from this book, or 3. Maybe it was 17 days or like 18 days. I took a hiatus for 18 days. I think it was 18 days where I just stopped reading this book altogether. Just I actually put it back on my shelf. That's how bad it was. coupled with my own issues that I had going on, yeah, the emotions were just not working out for me, and I had to change it. But anyway, it took me that long to finish it finally. And where we meet this guy right now is when he is already he's working, basically. He's working in a clothing store, so he's working retail, and it is I guess it's like a high-end male store, like, and he loves it, and he does a very good job. He's a very good salesperson. He from what how the way Elizabeth Flock has written him, he is also somebody who is very well dressed all the time, looking the part, looking sharp. And then he drives a Jeep. That was a funny detail to me. I was like, huh. I never really thought about what car I would think he drove, but a Jeep was definitely not something that I would have ever thought of. So that was crazy. This job of his, I feel like with a lot of retail jobs, it is this way where it might feel a little bit like a dead end job, especially if you're working retail, not in a corporation. So if you're working with a corporation like places like Shoprite Checkers and Pick and Pay and all that, perhaps there is space to grow in that space still. However, in a place like a boutique, where there's just the one and there's no other businesses, no other stores, and I think it can be a little bit of a dead end job, and that's how it felt for him. That's how I felt reading the book. Like, I feel like this guy is almost stuck, or almost feeling like there is no space for me to grow. And I don't know, it was so weird to me because he lived this very calm and peaceful life, almost boring, and like very routine. I don't know what he did on Sundays, honestly. I don't know what he did on Sundays, and I don't think I remember anything about them opening on a Saturday, but they probably do, as most retail stores do. But I wonder what what his times when he had a day off from work, what he filled his day with, because he followed the same routine over and over and over again. And even on the odd night when he was out with some people, it still felt, I don't know, it felt like he wasn't really present. I don't know how to describe it, but it felt like he was not present. It felt like he was likely not there mentally, emotionally. I don't know why. It was just very weird. And as we keep going in the book, we learn that he dropped out of varsity, out of a program that he was enjoying, and had to give it up. And that made me feel very sad for him. That made me feel very, very sad for him, because I cannot imagine having to give up my dream when I'm this close, when I have it. I just can't imagine that. Especially over something that honestly he didn't, in my opinion. Again, goes back to his parents. I hate his parents. I hate both his parents, because I don't understand why he had to come back home when his parents had each other and the one parent was functioning absolutely fine. It felt to me like they it felt to me like the devastation that occurred, it felt like they were still blaming it on him even as a grown up. And his parents were extremely immature, in my opinion. They were immature. I don't like them. I don't have anything great to say about his parents. His parents were the absolute worst people ever. If I had a mom and a dad like that, I'd rather be without them. Okay. Now my mom is absolutely incredible. And based on conversations and based on the things that we've spoken about, my mother would have never done that, would have never expected me to do what his parents expected him to do. It was just absolutely insane, okay? was insane, and I hated it. As a matter of fact, I spoke to my mom about it so much that she even started knowing their names, because she could not believe that they would do something like that. And I keep going on about it, I need to stop. But it was bad, okay? It was so bad. I was just like, don't parents want their children to chase their dreams? And of course, there are times when our parents might try to stop us from chasing our dreams as a way to protect us, like from disappointment, or it's just not feasible for you to follow that specific dream. But it just felt like these parents were ups, man. They were his biggest oppositions, and it made me so sad for him. I was like, man, you deserve better parents. If I'm being totally honest, you absolutely deserve better parents. While he's in his little retail job, he comes across a lot of the people that he went to school with, and that is like high school. A lot of the people he went to school with, and as with every other person you've gone to school with. Now, I was in high school back in the 2010s, mid 2010s, early to mid 2010s. I finished matric in 2016, and I am meeting people in the past few years who went to school with me, who are moving on in their careers, and we're all in different places in our careers. Some are doing better than others, and it is common to talk about what you're doing, and you have eyes in your head. I have eyes in my head. I can see where I am, where the one friend is, where the second friend is, where the other one is, and the other one is. And it is very easy to compare yourself, right? To compare your journey to somebody else's journey. It's very easy. And with him, it was just so jarring, because I felt like he, a lot of the times, wished that he could have still chased his dreams, and it felt like he would sometimes think about how much of a success he could have been himself. I don't know if I'm making sense. It was not said explicitly, but it's just something that I sensed. Hi, man. Di manong tsana lona hano, hai ne le nna nka be le nna ke ile ka. I would have also been in this position, or in a better position than I am right now. It made me sad. It really made me sad. Now, one of his coping mechanisms is unfortunately a coping mechanism that I have employed myself, especially when I was in high school and primary school. I really employed this. It was crazy. He has this elaborate fantasy. I don't know if I should say elaborate fantasies, or one elaborate fantasy, one huge one that's just ongoing. I don't know how to describe it exactly. But he's got this fantasy life that he's living, where he is a success, where he has done all these wonderful things, and he imagines himself living basically a celebrity life, where he's a well-known public figure, and they point out all these mundane things that he does on a day-to-day basis, and they point it out as like not the mundane, but like this huge masterpiece, this incredible thing that this man has been doing or has been partaking in. And it makes me so sad to see that, like, his life is so unbearable for him that he has to look elsewhere for some meaning, right? Which is different from what I used to daydream about. I used to daydream instead about somebody, I'm gonna stop talking about that. You don't need to know. And then he also, like I was saying, his life is so mundane. He also has very few relations, very few friends, and those who are around, it feels like they're not really friends, they're not really connecting, even though they knew each other. He feels like such a loner, right? Even as a reader, I felt the loneliness. I felt so lonely for him, which is a feeling that I have not felt in literal years. So I was like, man, I feel so bad for this character. He was experiencing this crazy loneliness, and then he made a connection, which was amazing. He made a connection with this girl, and life was good, life was great, it was going well until it wasn't. And I was so sad when it fell apart. But also I felt like, had I been in the same position as the girl was, I probably would have also felt iffy about it and would have also broken up with him, you know. As a reader, I'm like, I know the truth, I know what is going on, so I would have stayed. But in the girl's defense, she didn't know the whole truth. She just knew half the story and didn't know everything, and so she left. And I felt sad for him because he chased after her. Even after this girl left, he chased after her and was always hopeful that he could win the girl back. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare reading about it. It made me feel so bad for him. I genuinely felt bad. It was so bad. The book also goes back and forth between what is going on right now with him and what happened in the past. And you can almost see how the sense of guilt that he experiences, and the sense of responsibility, and I have to do this because X, Y, and Z. It's almost as if he's doing things out of from a place of guilt. And you can see how it builds, and how as he grows older, it becomes a little bit more solid, becomes a little bit extra. Like, he goes from feeling just a little guilty to feeling even more guilty, to in the end you can see how his guilt has basically paralyzed him. It's crippling. The guilt that he experiences is absolutely crippling, and it translates because his entire life, it feels, I felt so stuck with him. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know how this happened, but I felt it. I felt it. Like, I don't know. Maybe this is the life of an empath. Hey, like, you think so hard about people's experiences that you forget that characters in a book are not real people. This could be somebody you know. This may very well be somebody that you know who's going through this, or somebody, or even yourself. You could be going through something like this. And I felt so bad for him because this human being had so much potential, and yet he could not pursue everything that he needed to pursue, could not unlock this potential because of things that were beyond his control, because of things that he was made to feel like he was supposed to feel bad about because they were his responsibility. But in reality, they really were not his responsibility. I'm sorry, it makes me mad. I'm still thinking about how mad I am at his parents, and I'm going to take a moment to calm myself. So the way that the story is written is also very personal. I said about the last book when I was reviewing the John Green book, Looking for Alaska, I said that it was very personal. This book is even more personal. I feel like it makes it so because in that first book there were a lot of antics that the children got up to, and with this one they aren't really light-hearted, fun, cutesy things that he gets up to because he's an adult, and he's almost reflecting on his life and talking about what is going on right now. It is so personal. He's somebody who is in such a bad space. I feel like I would put him in therapy. I'd be like, you know what, I'll pay for therapy. Like, that's how bad it is. I'm like, I want to pay for your therapy. I want you to actually go sign into a mental institution and stay there for a couple of weeks, because this is not on. This is not on. And not because I feel like he's losing his mind or anything, but I just feel like he has been through so much, he has been through so much. He needs to recenter. He needs to recalibrate his entire life, his entire thinking, because ain't no way anybody's living like this. There is absolutely no way that anybody should be allowed to live this way. No one can survive this way. Okay, it's just it doesn't work. It doesn't work, and I felt extremely bad for him. I still do. And it's funny because I haven't read this book since the beginning of August. Let's say it's July. It's September now, and it's taking me back because I had to make my notes. It's taking me back, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, no. It's so sad. So in the end, the store has to close down because of some reason. I don't wanna. Again, I'm trying to find the perfect balance between telling you what the book is about and not ruining it. So anyway, the store has to close, and it's near to the end of the book, and there's this sense of, and now what? When the store closes, like nearing the end of the book where the store is about to close, there's this sense that now what's going to happen? Like, what am I gonna do? Because he has become so stagnant that it's almost as if he doesn't have a purpose anymore. He does not see his purpose anymore, and going into the store and working and going back has become his one and only purpose, has become the one thing that he lives for, and it's closing down. And when the book ended and he was driving back home, I was just sitting there like, yeah, that was not nice, hey? I desperately wanted to write him a sequel, and put him in a position where he's finally freed from all the trauma, or like he's working towards that. Like I wanted desperately to have a sequel where his life is getting better, where his dreams maybe not necessarily realized, but he finds purpose in other things. He finds purpose in things that are sustainable, because the way that this book went, it just it felt to me like he was this lost man, this lost boy who would never be able to find himself, because he was the shell. He was a shell of himself. He was a ghost of the man that he used to dream of being, and it was not nice to read about that, honestly. But I have to give it up to Elizabeth Flock. I read somewhere that she was a journalist. I don't know if she still is, but I read this book and I was like, my goodness gracious, this I need a conversation with Elizabeth, because I'm like, girl, we need to sit down. Tell me, what beef do you have with this character that you created? And now I want to read more of her work to see if this is a theme or if this was just this one book, because I know how some writers have a theme that they carry out through most of their work. But this was a good read. I will give it 3.75 stars. I think on Goodreads I gave it 4 stars. I would not necessarily say I 100% recommend that you go read this book right now. However, if you are looking for a book to read, if you are struggling with feeling like you're stagnant, feeling like you have not found your purpose yet, and you're just looking for someone who is in the same position as you, or you just want to read about this person, I would say go read it. I'd say go read it. I won't say go run and break your leg for this book, but absolutely read the book. If you have access to the book, get the book and read it. Get the book and read it, because it's very good. And you know what's insane? What's insane to me is seeing how happy they are as a family when he was a child, and kind of like seeing who they are closer to the end of the book. And it's like, how do you fall that far? and now this is not for him, this is like his parents. Like, how do you let things get that bad? Seek help. And why are you putting all these responsibilities on a child? You know, your child is supposed to be building his own life, not coming back around to not even help you pick up the pieces. Why are you expecting him to keep you together? You know, I feel like sometimes we go through situations where we are hurt, and it's through no fault of our own that we are hurt, right? Or maybe we were at fault a little, but we didn't really have much control over it. And I'm like, that's okay. But I feel like we are not absolved from or exempt from dealing with the situations. If somebody hurts you and you are brokenhearted, you have to pick up the pieces. You have to pick up the pieces. You're responsible for your own healing. You might not be responsible for how you got hurt. You might not be responsible for whatever has happened, whatever has caused your trauma, but you're responsible for the healing. You're responsible for getting back to a point where you can function as a decent human being. And it's insane to me, like, you cannot rely on someone else, especially somebody who is not responsible for that. And not only is not responsible for that, was not even somebody who should have been responsible in that position. It just drives me absolutely insane. It drives me insane. It drives me insane how much they placed such a burden on this person. And it's insane. It's even more insane knowing that there are people who are in a similar position where either long term or short term, where they've had to put aside what they were doing because they expected to do things. Okay, so I'm gonna end this right here, but before I do that, I want to leave you guys with this quote from the book. It says, maybe the worst thing about the past is how quietly it decides your future. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much for tuning into today's video. Make sure to join me next time for the next review, which is Ellie Hazelwood's Love Theoretically. And make sure to hit the subscribe button to join the family. Make sure to hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload. And make sure to also follow me on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Twitter at _smangela_. And thank you. I love you all so much, all the way to the moon, around the sun, and back again. Bye.